Hi guys, my name's PaintWithJosh. I'll be teaching you how to do a black and white mountain landscape, something we've never done before. And this will be a literally every single step tutorial. We've got a nice dry 16 by 20 inch canvas. We're going to take our Bob Ross liquid white paint, dip it in about a 1/4 inch. You don't want to have too much on the bristles, because if we have too much on our canvas, it's going to be bad for us. So we're going to spread that paint around nice and evenly and gently in the beginning, because it is kind of flippy and it will flip off your brush if you have too much on there, which is why we only put a little bit. And then we're going to spread it out nice and evenly across our entire surface. We need this liquid white not only to help the black paint become a lighter color and change and blend, but to make our canvas wet. Because we teach the wet on wet technique, that means we're taking wet paint from our palette down there and applying it to a wet surface, right? That way, our paints that are very, very thick in their consistency will slide back and forth and become nice and easy. And just while explaining that to you, we've covered up the entire canvas full of that liquid white, and we have a nice even coat across it. And I'm going to show you how to test and make sure that you have just enough, right? We're going to touch it in every possible place on the canvas and see that we have just the right amount of paint. You can see the little dimples in my glove or my fingertips. That's because there's not too much paint on the canvas. It's nice and evenly spread out. Now, like I said, we're going to do a black and white scene. So we're just going to use our our midnight black and our titanium white. I'm going to get a very small touch of the black onto the brush. And I know that I'm going to need a little bit of paint out there in my sky in order for anything to kind of bounce off and contrast, right? So we're going to take a little bit of our black paint onto the canvas. I'm going to then dab off my brush so I don't have much paint on there anymore, right? I want to get all of that darkness off the brush as much as we can anyway. Then we're going to come up here into our lighter area and start to crisscross. And I know that if I mix it up a lot, or if I keep mixing, it's all going to become the same, right? And if we're only using two colors, black and white, then we need to have all sorts of different tones and hues and values and different stuff to our painting, right? Otherwise, everything will literally look exactly the same. So the liquid white is doing two things. It's helping our black paint become lighter in its color, and it's also helping our black paint slide across the canvas much easier than it would if you were trying to do this wet on dry, which is a different kind of painting, right? Now we've got a very small little section of almost unpainted canvas because we're only using literally two colors. And now we can come out here and let's grab just an old nasty fan brush, right? We're gonna run it down through our white paint right there. In the night, we're gonna pop it out here, and we need to have enough black paint around our canvas or around our sky so that our white paint stands out, right? That's why we put it on there to begin with. So you have that little bit of contrasting darkness for our cloud to then play with, right? Now, if we mix up this white too much, it will disappear and be completely gone, right? So we're judging on our pressure, and as we're looking at it, we're going, okay, are we going to mix it fully, completely away, or is it going to remain up there? Is it going to be nice and bright? Is it going to be dark? What's happening in your sky is totally up to you every time, right? You have to have those little differences out there. I'm telling you, don't try to make it all exactly the same. And it's up to us what happens out there. Let me show you something else real cool. Nobody does these except for your old pal PaintWithJosh. We're going to take a little bit of our titanium white onto our palette tool, and let's just put a little contrail out there. Just a little old contrail floating out in the sky beyond. I'm going to do like 1 or 2 swipes over it. Seriously, otherwise you'll blend it away. Just like that, no matter where I am, whether I'm at the beach or the lake or the mountains or where, and you look up in the sky, you'll see a contrail out there because there's airplanes everywhere, man. Now, like I said, we're going to be using just black and white on this painting, so never mind all these other colors, just our black and white down here. And I want you to check in and tell me where you're watching from out there. In the night, where are you from out there? Right? Oh, look at that little contrail. He's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous, right? Where are you watching from out there as we're just using our black and white? Now, I don't want to just take black, put it up onto the canvas, because I won't have any difference in value there, even though it will mix in and change a little bit with our liquid white. So I'm going to take a lot of my black color and put it down here. I'm going to take a little sneak of the white because the white's very powerful and it will try to overtake that color and change it into a very bright color very quickly. And we don't need it to be very bright. We need it to be very dark, just not black anymore, right? Just not the pure black. So now we'll take that dark mix of our black and white paint. Let's come down here with the blade very vertical, right? Just like that as we climb up and climb up to the top. And then we come rolling down. We can literally scrape up the paint underneath, use it to push back up there, making our little mountain top, right? Dropping on more paint will make it darker. Scraping up that paint will allow it to where our mountain doesn't want to grow. You know, we can't allow it to grow so far, right? Which is why we scrape the paint up, pull it down over here, literally. Supremely easy. All we're really worried about is that top line of paint, making sure it's nice and crisp so it stands out away from our sky. Doesn't need to be too big or too wild or too crazy. Just needs to stand out up there away from a brighter sky. Now, all we're gonna do is scrape up that paint and literally deposit it in different places, because when we come up here with our big old 2-inch brush, grip onto it and start sliding it out, that's when it's gonna start turning into a little mountain down there. And the more that we slide it down here, the more horizontal we're getting to allow it to flatten out, okay? You can come up here and grab that old guy and slide him off this way. Right? Grab it right at our little ridge that we created and drag it down again and again and again, getting more and more and more flat as you get down this way, right? All up to us, remembering that the liquid white is going to allow the paint to get lighter and lighter and lighter. The more that it mixes with this guy, the lighter it's going to get. You can get right up along the edge, and depending on how you slide down the paint, it's gonna look one way or another way, all up to you. Now, we have to have some sort of shadow paint back there. So I'm gonna take a little bit of my white. I'm gonna grab a little touch of this dark paint. We're gonna mix it together so it becomes a gray color that needs to be brighter than this gray color, right? So we'll have to see what this looks like if we got up here, right? It's not too different. So I need to be a little bit brighter, get a little bit more of my white, come back in here. Now we don't want it to be pure white, right? We need it to have that little dark gray tinge to it so that when we come in with our other white paint, it will stand out, right? Again, we're just doing a black and white painting. I've never done a black and white mountain painting before, so we're up here trying some stuff out, right? Get up here with that gray, and you can see it's a slight bit brighter than our mountain snow, or our mountain base color, right? And then that way, get right up there along the edge, flow it down, and it should stand out a little bit. Can't just use white, right? You can't just use pure black paint either, but you have to have a little shadowy color. And then we'll come over here. We're gonna grab a little bit more of our titanium white. Back over here, gonna sneak a little bit of that tiny bit of color that we made, just so it taints the color a little bit, right? We want them to be different. We just don't want to use pure white way off in the background. And if we're just doing a black and white painting, we're gonna be working a lot with values, right? Gotta change the value a little bit. You guys, that's looking fantastic. Yes, a lot of people hear the Joker's voice when I talk. You would not be the first person to ever say that. Let's scoop up that whitish snowy paint. We're gonna come over here, we're gonna lay it down and just start letting it float and float, picking it up from those heavy places where we first started and letting it float down, right? We're not pushing on the canvas. We're not hitting it too hard. We're not pressing on the blade. We're not doing anything. We're just letting it hover and float down and take away the paint. I'm gonna show you a good example, right? If we scrape up a good amount, you can actually see the roll of paint right on the edge, right? It's got a little bit of body. That's how far we're gonna hover away. And then what if off on our shadowy side, we started dropping in one touch at a time, because if you go over it too many times, you're gonna start changing it to a different color. And we start dropping in our little zigzag glacier that's out there on old Mount Hood. God, I love painting this mountain so much. It's honestly so much fun to get up there and paint Mount Hood, honestly. One of my favorites. And I went there a few times. It is fabulous. It is a gorgeous place. Look at that. Look at that, guys. Just a black and white, right? And we haven't even used pure black or pure white paint. That's the funny thing, right? We can't do that until we get a little closer up towards us. Right? What if we wanted to have this guy change his height a little bit and drop back down, right? So it's not just a pure straight line down like that. And then what if this guy had a little projection over here or over there or whatever, right? Because again, it's never just a pure, oh my God, look at that mountain, you guys. If you guys are not overly enthusiastic about what you paint when you literally don't know what it's going to look like until it happens, then I don't know what you're doing with your life. That's fantastic. I have never, even with as many colors, give me every color in the rainbow, and I don't think I would paint a mountain that pretty. And all we're doing here is just very lightly hovering over the canvas, very lightly grazing across the paint, not trying to brush it, just trying to graze it across the canvas. Batman out here, a little bit over on this side, just to soften the base so that we can then pop in some new trees or different things or whatever. All up to us. Now, we're gonna go back and make a little bit more of our dark mix, even though we only have black and white. I don't wanna use just pure black, at least not yet, right? So let's get in there, let's mix a little bit of this light color in with that darker color, and we should come up with a darker mix, right? There we go. It's not our pure black, but it is pretty dark, and that way it should stand out against this color back here. We won't know until we try it. So let's try it. Where is my other fan brush, Joshy? There it is. Ah, got it. I was like, dude, I can't make trees without the Paint with Josh brush, so had to have it. We're gonna come in here, mixing down on that dark paint. You guys, one more time, check in. Let me know where you're watching from. Even if you're watching this in the future and it's not live right now, let me know where you're watching from. And I'm gonna come back here and read some of the comments as you're typing them in. Where are you from around the world? Let's see if I can keep up. My God, there's so many people here. Idaho, Oklahoma, Florida, Boston, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Georgia, Roswell, Peru, United Kingdom, Egypt, Happy Trees, Kentucky, Memphis, Alberta, North Carolina, Florida, Orlando, Arizona, Maine, Kansas. Good God, we got way too many people. Woo! Thank you guys, seriously, right? So this is the Paint with Josh brush. It is a synthetic hog hair brush. It's my brand of brushes. And unfortunately for you, they're sold out right now. But we're gonna come over here, we're gonna tap down and tap down and tap down. If you're looking for a good brush to use, I would suggest the Paint with Josh brushes or hog hair bristle brushes, right? There's a brand called GACDR, GACDR, that makes a great hog hair bristle brush. Bob Ross is another good brand of brushes, right? All sorts of brushes. Just make sure they're stiff. These ones aren't so stiff. Mine are more for fine details, which is how I get these very crisp, sharp tip tops to the trees, right? Is because we're using almost an acrylic brush with a lot of oil paint in it that's kind of sealing it all together, right? Because it will start to split, the Paint with Josh brushes, if you don't have enough paint in there. And that's kind of your indication to go back and get some more paint, right? We'll come up here, and the more and more and more of these little guys that we do, crisscrossing our mountain, maybe even up and as tall as that. You never know what it's gonna look like, guys, until you try it, right? So get out there and try some stuff. It's a lot of fun, I'm telling you. Come over here, tap it. That's why we're literally, people are like, what an act, like, you know, just be you, like stop being this. And I was like, I can only be myself, firstly, but I'm literally honestly surprised, genuinely surprised when these paintings come out, because you never know what it's gonna look like. And you only really figure that out after you do a bunch of them. Each time you do it, another little chance to do it a little differently, right? We're gonna take our 2-inch brush, we're gonna slide it very lightly and then pull away as we get to the top, because we don't wanna streak up into our snowy mountain. That's why we softened that area prior. And each time we go over this thing, see how we're kind of leaving more paint, we're filling in that area, and therefore it's pushing back our mountain into the distance. And we can come in here, and now we can smash down on all that paint, right? But I'm not using the full brush, and it will change, and it'll show you by the time we get to the end that only the top corner of the brush is actually being used. So what we're doing is we're tapping into it until it stops. I'm not dragging it down, I'm not brushing it down. I'm tapping in, getting a little lower and a little lower and a little lower each time, right? Then we come up next to it, tap it, a little lower, a little lower, a little lower. The more times that you do this, right, the more it will look like misty fog, the more it will soften the base of the trees. And then once you transition it back up into the top like that, to where there is no marks, you get this foggy, misty bit to your forest, right? One thing, right? I don't care what it looks like, but just please don't have it go straight across like Buckingham Palace. Let it roll down, up and down, back and forth, kind of like a heartbeat monitor. At least that's what I keep in my head. I go, you know what? I want it to go up and down, and then up and down, and up and down, up and down, up and down, wherever. Just make it different so it's not just pure flat, just straight across the whole theme. right? I'm telling you, it's gonna make it look a little bit more realistic. Now, why is the paint getting brighter and brighter? Maybe you just got here, right? Maybe you don't know that the bottom of the canvas is wet. The entire canvas is wet with a thing called, a product called liquid white. This one's from the Bob Ross brand. There's also a brand called Grumbacher, so if you don't want to support Bob Ross brand, totally up to you. There's another brand you could use. I'm using the Grumbacher's Clear right now. That's just the jar that we have open at the current time. Right? The more that you mix this thing up and blend that darker paint with this lighter white base coat, the more it will fog and mist. And then you can decide what you want it to look like. Do you want to have a bit of snowy field back there and you kind of have to brush it in? Do you want to do another little section of, ooh, I see something, guys. I see something right here. Let's take a little touch of our white paint, okay? We're gonna come back in here. Yes, right in there. God, I was thinking about this earlier today and now I'm actually seeing it live on the canvas right there. Gonna look like a little snowy little meadow back in those trees. You see it? Do you see what's happening back there, right? Because I don't wanna show that entire meadow. I would like to kind of hide it with another little section of trees. Like we've got a little snowy little back there where you can see through, right? So we're gonna need to make up a little bit darker color than the color that we had just mixed up in order for it to stand out. Remember, we're only using two colors, black and white. And yes, you have to put the extra emphasis on the on the white, okay? So now we're gonna take a little bit black. I mean, that's a lot of paint right there. Everyone's version of a little or a lot is different, right? We're gonna mix in that black paint, pure black paint, with our lighter color mixture that we've been going for, which is going to brighten the pure black because we've just added a little bit of brighter gray to it, right? But it's not gonna be as dark. I mean, it's gonna be dark, but it's not gonna be pure black. Remember, we don't want pure black, not yet. We're too far in the distance to have any pure black yet. We want to have mixed it or let it blend at least up until this point. So now we have this very dark color, which is not pure black, but it is also very dark. And so if we run our little fan brush down through this paint, pull it down over here, pull it down over there, and getting it onto the paint nice and heavily, so it's like an axe blade. It's like a hatchet. We'll go out there and chop one of these trees down out there, right? Now, I want to show that little thing, and I also want to keep into my misty area, okay? So here we go. We're going to tap in a little tree. We're going to start getting a little taller, a little taller, a little taller. All these little things, sometimes going up into the next forest, but if we leave some of that mist in between, right? And have our paint, have enough paint on our brush to keep it dark enough, then we should be able to stand out away from the last background little bit of forest, right? We're gonna have our little misty little thing in there, you guys, it's amazing. We're gonna drop down, come up, drop down, right? Filling it in. We're only really worried about what the top edge looks like, not the bottom edge. Nobody cares about what the bottom looks like down there. And then what if we came up into that snowy, misty stuff, our little hill back there, with just a couple little peaks of our trees, just a couple little tip toppers. Drop them down, right? Oh, guys, isn't that amazing? Isn't that literally amazing? I flabbergast my own self all the time. Look, I mean, you could pull it back up this way. I mean, you could get up taller, right? Oh, man alive. Okay, we got to cut it off. We got to cut it off over there. So let's get a little taller up here. Maybe we'll pop in just a little old tree top. This guy's a lot bigger. He's a lot more vibrant in his own branches, right? He's a little closer. We can see a little bit better what's happening. And then we're gonna seal him in with a bunch of those other little trees back there, right? And if you can keep a couple little branches on him, especially that he's a little closer, and maybe fix that little fat little guy right there, right? Maybe we'll make him a little granddaddy tree too. Just give him a couple little branches, like popping up, pushing against the canvas, letting the brush kind of fatten out a little bit, right? It's literally all you want to see is just a little bit of a tree indication, right? That's literally all we're looking for as humans. We go, does that have some branches? Oh, okay. The rest of those must be so tightly compacted that we can't really see the rest, right? Now, again, we're going to try to drag up for along the bottom, but we're not going to try to hit his little branches, okay? We don't want to drag it all the way up, kind of pulling away when you get to the top. I'm all the way up, but we don't want to do that. We want to pull away before we get to the top, okay? That's gonna help seal in and fill in the color, making this little section of forest look like it's closer than our little back section back there. Isn't that cool looking? Isn't that literally amazing looking? Now remember, give me the old follow, guys. Otherwise you're gonna be like, oh, I was listening to this really cool guy. I was watching him paint this black and white scene that just came out amazing, but I can't remember the guy's name. What was that guy's name? So if you don't follow me already, give me the old follow, because you're gonna wanna find me again, I'm telling you. Doesn't matter if you paint in watercolors or oils or acrylics or gouache, whatever that is. I don't even know what that is. But you're gonna wanna come back and find your old boys. Give me the old follow right here. Mixing up all that little misty stuff. Oh my God, I can almost see. I mean, we could change direction and go down this way, couldn't we? We could. I mean, we could slide another little, dude, this whole thing could be this. Look at this. If we just pull this guy down, and I have no paint on the brush right now. We pull that guy down and start changing our angle, almost like we're fanning out. So we're flat here, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more from that little corner area. Oh, it looks exactly how I thought it would look. Perfect. Okay, let's grab a little bit of our titanium white. And when I say a little bit, you know, everybody's different with a little or a lot. Let's come down here, long strokes, right? Throw it down, blend it back up against the side of the canvas, okay? Drop it, blend it, and it literally, you don't even have to add, right? All the rest of that stuff that was not white, because you saw me put it on that white area of canvas, and then this little stands out, right? You don't have to paint everything. It all doesn't have to be the same color. If you want depth in your scene, right, you have to have some shadowy areas and differences. So the more that you blend it all the same, the more all the same it's going to be. Now, what do you think about that old little straight line? Because I'm not liking it too much, right? So I can get up in here and I can start to mix and blend and push and mush and kind of have that snowy, misty fogginess back in there where I can't really tell where the base is, where it's coming in from. It's that mysteriousness. Right? Are we on another bank of snow like back there? Or is it something different? Do I put a tree over here? Do we not? It's totally up to you guys every time that you go to do one of these. I could literally pop in another little bit of forest. Dude, I might do that actually. I might literally do that. We'll put, yeah, yes. And it's a, do you see it? Do you see what I see? Do you see what I see? Let's take a little bit more of our black mix, right? Mixing it in with that much darker version, maybe sneak the tiniest bit of brightness in there. Because again, this must be darker than our next bit, which has gotten lighter to darker, then darker again, right? With a little bit of light in between. Somebody, I think it was Bob, always said, art is a play of light and dark, right? So you gotta go light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, right? All up to us and what we do. Let's get a little bit of our dark paint, which is not, again, pure black. We've mixed it and mixed it and mixed it with a little bit lighter color each time, making it much darker, but not pure black, right? We're gonna get a lot of paint on the brush, and let's put some trees in there with some details. You wanna see some details? And remember, guys, you can grab this painting, very easily findable, and the mods are telling you how to get there, man. Let's put some more sharp little guys on this one. My brush was kind of running out of paint when we were doing that guy before. So we'll pop in a couple little branchies on him, right? And again, even just having that one bit of dark color without misting it makes it look like it's standing out, right? We don't want it to stand out. We got to mist that color down. Now that we're over here, let's get that dark paint. We're going to stand out. Doesn't always necessarily mean that you need to get taller, right? When I very first started painting, I always thought your mountain had to kind of be down here. So by the time you got to the foreground, your trees would stick above your mountaintop, and that would make them look like they were closer than your said mountain in the background. And after 2,149 paintings, which is what this number is, we've realized you don't have to do that as long as you got that misty stuff. So I'm gonna fill this whole bottom section with a lot of trees right here. And these guys are just gonna be a little bit closer. So they're gonna be bigger, they're gonna have more details, but we just wanna keep that misty area, right? The more we go down, the more we push in, the more brush contacts the canvas, right? The more you can start to fill these little guys out. Filling them down, filling them down. You can go off the canvas if you want to. You don't have to. You don't literally have to do anything. And let's say you're like, oh, I don't like my branches on the one side, because inevitably it's gonna happen, right? You're not gonna like something. So you pop in your next little guy right there, and that way your branches will crisscross by the time you get in there, right? Boom. Now you've lost that part that you don't like, right? Kind of tucked it right away, right? Not every tree is symmetrical. Not every tree gets bigger as it goes down. There are very skinny trees out there. There literally are. I've seen them. I've seen them out there. We definitely don't want to continue going up. So every so often drop one that's smaller. And this guy, if he's going to be in between two things, you literally don't even have to do much more than the top of him. I swearsies. Because by the time we come down with our next guy, all the branches might crisscross and intersect. And we don't know what's happening, right? And you can see I'm holding the brush like a plate, right? Let's imagine we've got a plate full of fruit on it, except we're tilting it forward a little bit so all the fruit would run off the front, right? Because it's no longer flat anymore. And that way you can just barely touch the corner, and then the more that you go in, the more brush you push against the canvas, making the paint and the brush contact it more, right? Making it a bigger shape. Right? I told you by the time you get down here, look at that. Who placed it just perfectly? Old Paint with Josh, that's who, right? But the more that you do, the more times you do it, the easier it becomes, right? Pop little things out here, there. And just remember, there is no perfect tree, right? We all want to paint the perfect tree, but in reality, the perfect tree is an imperfect tree. We don't have to have every branch be as big or as long or whatever. It doesn't have to fill up the side. It can if you want to. We can wrap it around the edge of the canvas even, right? Creating a little bit of detail on the side, wrapping it around like it's a canvas print, right? We can do whatever we want. Do we want to do more, or dudes? Oh man, hang on. I got an idea. It's gonna take a lot of white paint to cover up this much darkness, but I got an idea. Are you ready? Are you ready? We could have 2 more layers of distance in here if we shrink our trees, right? So if I come up here, oh, it hurts my heart, but push it out that way, okay? Now you've got a little line that you can then follow down and down. I told you it's gonna take a lot of white paint if we choose to highlight that area, right? We don't have to highlight that area. It doesn't have to be white since we're doing a black and white scene, but doesn't that look cool? I was just gonna do trees all the way across the bottom, but look at that little guy for an old thing back there. Now, what sits way off in the distance? Maybe nothing. Maybe you leave it like this, right? But I've still got some paint, and it looks like no one's got this painting yet. Therefore, you guys can't tell me to stop. How many more trees can we put in? Do we wanna get closer this way? Do we wanna put something in smaller back here, just like that? And then that way, we can pull it from a different direction. Little guy, I'm talking about the smallest little taps, because depending on where we make his butt sit, depends on how close he is, right? So if he is that small, and his butt is sitting way down here in the front, right? Doesn't really make sense. Or he's just a little baby tree, right? But if we come way back here, and we pull him down in this direction, and then put some more going up that side, right? And crisscrossing our little angles. Isn't he the cutest now? Look at him. Oh, he's so fresh. God, I'm gonna leave these things black too. We're not gonna highlight anything. Don't get up, Josh. Right here, little babe. Oh, in the woods. Oh, look at him. He's like a little Christmas tree. He's fantastic, you guys. Okay. Excuse me. I need you guys to come up with a title for this painting. I don't think I'm going to touch it at all anymore. If anything, and I mean, we could always make it dark again, but if anything, oof, don't want to put on too much. Put on too much, make it too bright. Drag it back, back, back. I want to have little shadows like that, especially since all my light is coming from this side. Just so happens that we're catching a little shadow on our little man out there, hanging out. Oh, frick. That is so fantastic. Literally black and white. All we use, black and white. How many times did we check the value on that black and white? You know what I mean? By taking it from a lighter value to a little bit heavier, a little bit heavier, a little bit heavier, and we still didn't use pure black or pure, well, actually we did use some pure white down here, but it ended up mixing to not be pure white. So you guys come up with a title for this painting right here. God, if it doesn't look like Mount Hood to me, I don't know what does. Holy Misty Pines, I like that. Gray Peak, Summit Sunder, The Lonely Tree. Oh, isn't that fabulous? Guys, no one told me we had a big old gap right here. Let's fill this little guy in. There we go. Now we're kind of hiding what's back there. And what's funny is you can take your palette tool, make these little dudes really sharp, right? or from in betwixt them, pop up little trunks or little scrapes, little bits of a branch or a log that's so skinny. It's growing out of there. You know what I mean? Just gives it one more little piece of depth. This guy is the focal point, though. Seriously, tell me you don't just focus on this one little dude down here. Isn't he the cutest? Oh my goodness. There. Oh, there. There he is. Right? But we can't have it be so harsh at the bottom. So let's pull it out. Pull it out. Pull it out. We all have practice. There you go. There you go. Oh my God, it's fantastic. That is tell me with a big old 2-inch brush too. Who's doing that with a monstrous 2-inch brush and the possibility of ruining the painting with one swipe with this huge 2-inch brush? There we go. We need a lot of paint on that brush right there. There. We need it to be brighter as it gets towards us. A little bit darker as it gets further away, right? Oh my, you see that little highlight now? Now that little highlight looks so pretty. And I want to do it again and again and again, and then it's no longer a highlight anymore, right? If you do too much, then it no longer becomes what it was meant to do, which is just highlighting an area. You don't need to have everywhere be the same. And like I was saying earlier, if it's imperfect and different, then it will look more natural than if you're trying to make it quote unquote perfect, right? So you guys come up with a title. Remember, if you grab this one during the live show, you get to pick the title forever. So just let that sink in. If you wanted to get this one during the show, then you can you get to title it whatever you wanted. I literally had a person call it Ted one time, quote unquote. So what are we gonna call this little guy? As we come out here and we throw in the Paint with Josh bird signature, which is amazing. We're just gonna go caw-caw, throw those guys out there. Flying out in the day. That's very cool. Then we'll sign it down in the bottom. And just to make it stand out, we'll use our liquid white right down here, out of the way, because this is now our focal point over there. He is so stinking cute, literally. So, you guys, let me know what we're gonna call this thing. And then we'll be all set-a-rooski. Pines, I like that. Excellent title. We're gonna put this guy over here. Remember, you can still get it, you just can no longer title it anymore because I am about to title it right now. The title has been chosen. So, thank you to typical, what does that say? Humaira? Whispers of the Winter Pines. I like that. Whispers of the Winter Pines. Fabulous. Okay, you guys are awesome. This was painted on 11/16/2026. We're all gonna go to Paint with Josh, right? And then you put that traditional ending that you would normally put if you wanted to go anywhere online, right there. And check out all the things that we have there, not just paintings, but more stuff for you to like. God, that came out so fantastic. Oh my